From the Oklahoma newsroom, this is an OSU update. I'm Jenny Carlson. The college football playoff, a very hot topic right now, obviously. And the 2011 Cowboys are part of the reason why we have a playoff now. Kyle Fredrickson joins us on the phone. And Kyle, people around here obviously remember that great OSU team, Brandon Weeden, Justin Blackmon, on and on. They went with really talented players, finishing third in the BCS standings by the smallest margin ever, kept out of that national championship game. Obviously part of the reason why we now have the playoff. You had a chance to talk to some of these guys. What did they say about that moment, not having the 14 playoff, and now that we do, sort of what's their feeling about all of that?
Yeah, it's interesting because, of the small sample of players I talked to, being Brandon Weeden, Jamie Blatnick, and Evan Epstein, all of them had a little bit of a different view on it. Obviously, each of those guys would have loved to be in a playoff, to have the opportunity to compete for a national championship. But, it was kind of a different view from each guy, and I think that it makes sense considering kind of what the role of each player was on that team. Brandon Weeden is a guy who, makes no doubts about it. That Iowa State game is still one that kind of haunts him to this day. What could have been had this team went and gone undefeated. So Weeden was very outspoken and talking about how, he really wishes they did have a playoff, that he felt they deserved to be in that conversation. And then you got a guy like Evan Epstein who says, hey, maybe we go to a national semifinal and we lose. He caps off his OSU career, without a postseason victory in what was a magical season. He talked about how special that Fiesta Bowl was. And then Blatnick just said, yeah, it would have been great to have another week with these guys, and it would have been a lot of fun. There's really no one simple answer to how this team really feels about it. But certainly, that was a team that was talented enough offensively to compete with the best in the nation, and it really would have been interesting to see them matched up against one of those powerhouses.
Yeah, I think interesting is a great word to ascribe to it, Kyle, because as everybody remembers, that was the national championship game that repaired LSU and Alabama against each other, and that had been a matchup that was really devoid of great offense in the regular season, and to see those two go back up against each other sort of became tilted in one way. Would have been interesting to see one of those SEC defenses up against that OSU offense. And Kyle, sort of a, kick to the gut a little bit is that, they did some mock selections earlier this year with the current playoff formula. And under that formula, the Cowboys would have not only been in this playoff, had there been a playoff in 11, they would have been the #2 team. That's a little bit, like I say, a little bit of a kick to the gut for a team that got left out by such a small margin in the BCS.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Like you mentioned, OSU came in at #2 in that mock selection. LSU was 1, Alabama 3, Wisconsin 4. So you're talking about an OSU Alabama matchup to play the winner of that LSU Wisconsin game. That would have been a lot of fun. To see this spread offense with Weeden and Blackmon and Joseph Randall and all the weapons that they had behind that great offensive line against an Alabama team that really didn't allow LSU to even get past midfield for a lot of that championship game. So it's something fun to talk about. It would have been great to see, especially for OSU fans back then. But like you mentioned in the introduction to all this, this scenario where the Cowboys got left out really kind of ushered in this new system. So if even Oklahoma and some of the other teams that seem to be locked into the Final Four should probably be thanking Mike Gundy and company for the opportunity.
Well, be sure to check out that story that Kyle's worked on, talking to those former Cowboys. It's going to be in our our Saturday newspaper and on newsok.com. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.